Alright guys, so we're going through our sumo squat now. I always like to get people to set up their positioning first so they know exactly where their feet needs to be. This will change depending on what their hip mobility is like and how big their hip structure is. Alright, so starting at the bottom position, alright, we should be able to get those glutes down to our knee height, okay? From here, we can imagine if we're out here, this is not going to be a safe position on the knees. They're just going to fall forward and it's going to hurt through the hips. Okay, if we're too close in, well then we're not sumo squatting and it can really load through those, through your tibialis here on the shins on the side here, guys. Alright, so setting up, we want our tibia to be directly in line with where the knees are. Okay, so you can see that this is a good position for me, my hip structure is fine, I can set up in this position well. Okay. Alright, so moving on to a kettlebell. Alright, when you've got your position, alright, so we really want to note that we shouldn't be rolling our knees in either, guys. They should be staying in line with the toes. Alright, so setting up at the bottom position. Alright, feet might be turned out a little bit more, once again depending on the hip structure. Alright, so starting at the top, guys. Shoulders will be retracted nice and tightly here, otherwise we're going to end up pronating through the shoulders. Alright, so from here, okay, we're sending the hips backwards, keeping an upright torso, okay, controlling down. When we get to where our knee height is, guys, we're going to drive up through the foot, alright, and tucking the hips under, really engaging those glutes at the top. This is a pretty intense exercise on the glutes. Alright, so once again, rolling the shoulders back, hips back first, and down, making sure the knees aren't rolling in, driving up and squeezing the glutes. Cool. Alright, now we're going to go through a burpee, guys, okay? So noting we don't want people to be rounding in this position, we want to limit that as much as we can. If we need to, we'd rather have somebody using a box to start off with to get into that position correctly, and then slowly progressing to the floor as their mobility gets better. Alright, so noting that the first part of the burpee is mostly a squat, okay? So squatting down, bringing the hands as close as you can to the feet. Alright, from here, hands grounded on the floor, we're jumping back into this controlled position, alright? Try and keep everything tight through the core, everything retracted as well. Alright, from here, we're going to be jumping back up to where the hands are, as close as we can. We want our hands to be as close as we can to those feet. Alright, coming back up, squeezing glutes, back down again, into our burpee position, back up, engaging the glutes. Alright guys, so now we're on to our bent over rows, okay? So treating it like a deadlift as if we're picking it up, alright? So keeping everything tight through the back, alright, picking the barbell up, alright? From here, we're setting up into like our Romanian deadlift pattern, okay? Or our half a deadlift. I want to keep the shoulders retracted tight, okay? Want to keep the wrists nice and tight too, so then we're not rolling forward on the wrists as we're coming forward. Right, from here, we're going to keep the barbell on our legs for that control. All right, sending the hips back to that hinge pattern. All right, coming down to about the knees. From here, trying to keep the barbell as close to your legs as you can. You want that control, guys. All right, shoulders should be retracted tight the whole time. All right, from here, we're rolling the barbell in towards our belly button, squeezing tight through the shoulders, controlling back out. Up, keeping tight, controlling out. So noting if people are struggling and they're rolling forward here, right, because their T-spine isn't strong enough to hold them, we can regress to dumbbells, all right? So starting off in a neutral position, okay, so palms facing each other. Same thing, we're hinging over. We're starting just outside the legs here, all right, keeping the shoulders retracted, and we're rolling in towards the ribs, back out, squeezing those shoulder blades tight. Alright guys, so we're going to go over our leg lifts now. Okay, so taking note, if for a regression, we will start off in the bent leg variation as a regression, okay? So just one leg coming down and then the other. Alright, if we're strong enough though, alright, we're going to chuck our hands underneath our hips. Alright, from here we're going to make sure our pelvis is in that posterior pelvic tilt, okay? Hands underneath the bum to support us. Alright, from here we're going to keep that core nice and tight. There shouldn't be any rounding in the lower back here. It should be all through that core. Alright, from here we're going to go one leg down, alright, and and one leg onto the other side. All right. If they really are strong, you can get them to take their hands out and give that a shot from here. But most people starting off in a gym won't be strong enough through that core, so we are going to want to start them with the hands underneath for that extra leverage. All right, guys, so setting up for our lat pull down. So a good position would be roughly our bench grip, or a little bit outside our bench grip, our bench press grip. Okay, so grabbing on, all right, and we're sitting underneath. From here, we want to keep our feet grounded to the. All right. So we're going to be driving through the whole foot as we come back up, as we're pulling down. All right, from here, we're going to pull the shoulder blades up. So this is our elevation. Yep. Elevation, this is called. All right, from here, we're going to depress our scapula. All right, keeping the chest upright. We're going to bring our elbows down to our rib cage, making a big W with our arms and our back. All right, bringing our chest to the bar for that extra leverage. All right, and controlling back out. All right, lifting the shoulder blades back up, or elevating the shoulder blades, retracting again, elbows to the rib cage, making that big W, and then back out. Noting if someone's finding it hard and they keep rolling forward like this, that we can move to our handles into our neutral grip, just like we did with our bent over rows. So noting that we will not get a client to touch the kettlebell if they are still struggling with their deadlifts. All right, they need to be a master at the deadlift before that they can even touch a kettlebell for a kettlebell swing. All right, so setting up for this first of all, guys, we want to note that this is a hinge pattern as well. It's not a squat pattern. So when we're doing our kettlebell swings, we should be hinging. Our knees should only be slightly bent. All right, they should not be squatting down. All right, so we're going to go into a squat position for our feet. All right, we want to start the client off with body weight as well before we go into the kettlebell. All right, so starting off with body weight, we're going to get them to retract the shoulders, and then we're getting them to send the hips back, pretending like they have a kettlebell in their hands here as well. All right, so sending the hips backwards. All right, so it'll just pass through the sides of your legs here when they do have a kettlebell. It will just touch. All right, from here, we're bending over, keeping everything tight through the shoulders. All right, and then we're driving our hips up nice and fast to the wall. All right, don't get them to go too high with the kettlebell. Get them to focus on that hip tuck first of all. All right, so once again, going over as if you have a kettlebell in your hand. All right, so kettlebell's coming down, 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 just letting it relax here. We shouldn't have to put any pressure on it. All right, and then we're driving up through the hips, guys. So from here, the kettlebell will just drop naturally, and then we're driving up through the hips. This is a hip movement, okay? So we should be feeling our glutes engaging at the top. All right, trying to tuck those hips tight when we're at the top of this position. All right. All right, so now moving on to the kettlebell as well, guys. All right, so I want you to imagine so we're going to start with the kettlebell directly underneath our pelvis. All right, so reaching down as if we've got a football and we're going up. All right, so we're going to send it back first, and then we're going to drive up. All right, so keeping the shoulders retracted, I'm coming down, I'm grabbing onto the kettlebell. All right, pushing it through, driving up through the hips. Driving up through the hips, guys. Should be squeezing those glutes and engaging tight at the top, keeping the shoulders retracted, remembering that this is a hinge movement, not a squat movement. All right.
Awesome. Real quick, so I'm just going to get you a couple more for us. We're going to jump in as well. And let's go. Just one more thing I had to it. So what I find, guys, that's helped a lot as well is actually going through the client and saying pop and then drop, so making sure they power it up, and then the kettlebell takes them down. Okay, kettlebell's in control, Re's in control, kettlebell, Re. Okay, a big thing that helps as well is give the client a little bit of a tap as well if they find they're not giving the kettlebell control. Okay, so a little light tap, and then she powers it back up tall. Awesome, it's great.